sure.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Well, man, it's great to meet you. I appreciate you taking a minute out. You got a lot going on here as a lawyer and a consultant and a coach. So I'm looking forward to peeling back the layers. So thank you, sir, for taking a minute out.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
So let's begin our journey here with something that I'm sure we're all getting fatigued with, which is talking about COVID. But it was such a big moment for us to live through this pandemic. So how did you survive that 4 year time period approximately, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
Interesting question. I actually enjoyed it, you know. As an introvert, it gave me a reason for not going places that I didn't want to go anyway. So it gave me the cover to say, well, that's not going to work for me because or whatever, and that felt good. It gave me a chance to do a lot of writing, clear my throat sometimes. It was a good think space. Partway through COVID, we moved. We moved from the suburbs downtown, and so there was that element as well, changing the life from the old to the new. Um, I think during COVID, early part of it, I wrote a book called "New Beginnings, New Opportunities," and I think in some respects, it was an opportunity for us to put things behind us that were no longer serving us, kind of like a downsizing move. Get rid of all this stuff you've never used. So it was a case of almost starting all over again. I remember in the book I used the image of a lodgepole pine, and lodgepole pines are pine trees that grow in the Canadian, Rockies, and the seeds are encased in pine cones, really really thick pine cones. It's only by forest fires that these cones are broken open and the seeds can grow. So the forest fires are necessary for the new growth. And I found that with COVID that it was weird. It was really unusual to see no traffic on the highway and see people not around. But when I look back at it, it was like the lodgepole pines, just a new opportunity, and new opportunities for doing new things in a new way. So
You know, it's interesting. I moved in January 2020 and I went to kind of a bustling suburb of Kansas City called Lee Summit. It's the home of Pat Metheny. And
okay.
yeah, so everything there was always in motion, but when we moved and the world shut down and everything grinded to a halt, it was so weird. Did you feel like that going from the suburbs to downtown and knowing Toronto the way you did?
No, it was a life-changing experience.
Right.
Moving from the burbs when everything was much the same, you needed a car. Um, Houses were almost cookie cutter houses. In order to go grocery shopping, you need to jump in the car, that kind of thing. We moved downtown. I'm about a 15 or 20-minute walk from some of the best things that Toronto has to offer. So there's no car. We got rid of the car. It was a life-changing experience in many ways. I wrote two books, started two books, and I connected with the spiritual community I've been spending my entire life looking for, which is a magnificent church around the corner. So I've got the spiritual element that, as I say, I've been looking for, and it's there. So I found it a real life growth, life expect. Well, yeah, life surge. It's just great. And my wife did the same thing. She's retired. I'm still writing, but she's retired, and she's found so many interesting things to do, moving from the burbs to downtown. So oh, it was a move that should have happened 20 years before, but it
Yeah,
happened when it happened. It was the right
sure.
time. No, I love it downtown.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis here in 2024. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the curious kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I help. I help people help other people. I help coaches, and I help. Yeah, nice people help other nice people make a difference in their lives. That's pretty simple, but that's what I do.
So let's peel back the layers here. What did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I listened to an interview this morning, and so I was expecting this question. I wanted to be a garbage man. I wanted to be a garbage man.
Wow. You know, my son's enamored. My son's on the spectrum, and he used to really be enamored with the trash guys. In fact, now still we were out playing football the other morning, and a guy drove by and he threw the football to the guy, and the guy caught it and he threw it back, and it was awesome. They're
Wow.
always fun. But yeah, so how did that morph into you becoming a lawyer and helping people? How did that happen?
Well, it's interesting. When one of my memories of being a kid was I didn't quite have the order right. Instead of collecting the garbage and putting it outside, I collected the garbage in the house. I took the garbage from the kitchen and distributed it around the house. My mother wasn't terribly pleased with that, but it was an interesting kind of a thing. I became a lawyer by default. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I wound up going to law school because it would delay the decision 3 years and on and on and on. And it wasn't until I made the decision to leave law that I started to get a handle on what I really enjoy doing. And one of the things I enjoy doing is planning and organizing. So when I look back at my childhood dream of being a garbage man, that was part of it, cleaning up messes, picking up things, bringing order out of disorder. And now I like to say, well, as a lawyer, I cleaned up a lot of messes. As a consultant, I've cleaned up a lot of messes. So maybe, yeah, maybe it was prophetic. Um, but it all fits in there. That it's a funny story, but I was fascinated with garbage trucks, just fascinated with it. So I get fascinated with fire trucks. And even now, I see garbage trucks collecting, and I stop and watch them. I
Yeah.
just watch because to me it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we had mentioned before we kind of got on officially here, we talked about jazz, and in my other incarnation, I have a jazz radio show. I'm curious, as a jazz fan, what was the first live jazz show that you caught that really hooked you or made you kind of be dazzled by the world of jazz?
That would have been in university. Yeah, I was in university. Peter Appleyard, Toronto musician, was there, and it was a special event. I think it was the Christmas dance or the Christmas ball, and in one of the beautiful rooms at the university. And he played, and everybody just stopped dancing and just sat on the floor and just listened to him play the xylophone, and it just the whole room was just a beautiful room with wood paneling and marble floors and all that kind of stuff. And just to hear the sound of this music and to have 300 university students sitting on the floor listening to it, it was just, I thank you for asking it because I never thought of that before, but that was a seminal moment. That was pretty amazing.
That's wonderful. So talk to me a little bit about heroes. Who's been an inspiration for you in your life and the work that you've done?
Two people. One is Matthew Fox, the Episcopalian priest, not the actor. I went to a workshop that he did on creation spirituality, and it was just again, one of those mind-changing events. And the other one is Jack Canfield, his book, Success Factors. Number one success factor, you are 100% responsible for yourself. And so those two right there, they've both written so much I couldn't possibly have read all of it. But just the thinking, their approach to life, their approach to issues just resonated with me so much.
What was the first time? So, as you explained, talking to third graders, you're helping people. What was the first time that you really helped somebody where you knew that that was a calling? That was something that you needed to do with your life. They had a twinkle in their eye, or something really good happened out of it.
Well, it happened as a teenager. I was a counselor at summer camp, so I got a lot of that kind of thing there. I think it was when I was practicing law and people were confused by the whole legal system and confused by what was going on and nervous and scared and all that kind of stuff. And have people come in tears over one issue or another. And I was able to somehow help them get over the crisis and say, we can work this out. We can sort this out. I don't know what the solution is, but I know there's a solution there. So I think it was when I was practicing law, and at that time I was in rural Ontario, and the interest rates were like 18, 19%. So a lot of family farms were being jeopardized by banks for taking over family farms. I was area director, so I was in a position to provide legal assistance to farmers. And when things settled down, one of the ringleaders who in the protecting farmers wrote a book called Farm Gate Defense, and he She gave me a signed copy, thanking me for what I did. There it is. There it is. Wow, sorry about that. Hit a moment there that I'd forgotten about.
So, talk to me a little bit about what did you like about practicing law? To me, lawyers always embody this wonderful mix of having to know a little bit about everything. I mean, there's
Yeah.
specializations, but there's such a nature that goes into law that you have to know how the world works. You have to be aware of a lot of things because law just permeates every sphere of our existence. What was the most pleasing part of practicing law for you?
Oh, again, helping clients, working with clients. Um, one of the reasons I left law because I didn't really like lawyers. You can't work in the field if you don't like your colleagues. It's just not going to work. I really enjoyed helping clients, and I always took the position that I may not have the answer, but together we can come up with some workable solution for us. I remember one time, this was when I was a young lawyer, and I had all the answers to all the questions that had ever been asked. And a guy came in, as I say, it was rural Ontario, and a guy came in with a dispute with his neighbor, and he starts telling me about the problem. So even before he got the story finished, I got a solution for him. He finished the story, and I said, "So what you want is da 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 da." And I mean, I was a young lawyer. Who's going to argue with me? And he says, "Well, you got the facts right, but that ain't what I want." And it turned out that what he wanted was an apology. And here I do pulling all the big guns in. So it was there I learned to listen. Just hold back, listen, gather the facts, and then ask at the end of every interview, what is it you really want? What's the ideal outcome? And so that shifted from my pushing something at clients to my listening to their situation. And I think that was a breakthrough kind of a moment.
It's interesting. I'm going to pull little wisps of jazz into this. I've talked to a lot of people about Miles Davis, and the one thing that I've come to the conclusion of is that he was one of the best listeners ever. That was why he was so good. And it's astonishing to think that somebody that was so astute at what he did and was such a good marionette of bringing players together and launching careers, his real hallmark of what he did and how he influenced his time on this planet was by listening well.
Oh, totally. I was at a Jazz FM did a Jazz 101 series to be introduced to different elements of jazz. And so I went down there and there was a trio playing piano, bass, and drums. And they're just demonstrating different kinds of things. And when the pianist was playing, I noticed that the other two players were just standing there looking at her. So at the end of the performance, I said, "What were you guys doing when Nancy was playing the piano?" And they said, "Listening, just absolutely listening." And I have a close friend now who is he's 50 years younger than I am, but he's an amazing pianist and we get along so well. And so I watch him when he's playing the piano and he's listening. I mean, he's playing at the same time he's listening. And I think from there, and in today's world, everyone's talking and not too many people are listening.
Yeah.
And so it's this whole listening thing. And that's what I like about jazz is watching the performers listen to and watch each other
Yep.
just so connected. And yeah, it's exciting to be in a small venue and get the looks of their faces and all that kind of thing. So it's yeah, listening is so critical, so
It
critical.
absolutely is. So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Frank Sinatra didn't move pianos. This was from my marketing mentor, and I I had left law and I was doing other stuff, and I connected with somebody that wanted to work done. So we became really close, and he was really helpful guy. And I had the tendency to if something had to be done, I would do it. And he kept saying, "Larry, don't. You don't have to do that." And I said, "But it's got to be done. Got to be done." And he would invariably say, "Frank Sinatra never moved pianos. Stay in your lane, dude. Stay in your lane."
That's it.
And
That's it.
I kind of it sounds silly, but I smile at that. So now whenever I hear Frank Sinatra, I'm thinking, "You didn't move pianos."
That's great. So of everything that you've done and accomplished and evolved into at this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm, that's a toughie. That's a toughie. Um, I think. I think I'm proudest of how I've managed to lever my experiences, my life's lessons learned, so that other people can benefit from them. Um, when I did my first book, How to Succeed in Your Home Business, person I knew got a hold of it, and he later thanked me for changing his life. He was had a clerical position, but he really wanted to be a financial planner. And I guess something I said in the book triggered or inspired or whatever. And even to this day, I haven't seen him in years, but if I were to see him on the street today, he would thank me again for changing his life. So it has to be that. It's empowering and really, I don't like to, I will not tell people what to do, but I like helping them figure out the right way to do things. And this is a classic situation then. And he was just so happy. He went on to teach. He's teaching at a community college now. He's teaching financial planning. So that feels kind of good. And he's one of other, I mean, how many people have I whose lives, how many people whose lives I've changed without me realizing it? I don't know. But it feels good. My book is part of the current book is part of a legacy project, and that's kind of exciting because looking back at some of the highlights and everything and some of the lowlights, looking back at it and thinking, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, this has been a good journey.
Yeah.
And so that I have that luxury now of being able to look back at some of my experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, and make sense of it. And yeah, they would be it would be yeah, maybe not changing the world, but maybe occasionally making somebody's day a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know, not humongous risk shiftings, that kinds of things, but just on a regular basis, just trying to make a small difference.
So did you ever watch the show Monk?
No,
Okay. It was about a detective and he was a real clean freak and it was on for a little while, I think in the 2000s. Well, they did a reboot movie recently and it was perfect because it was COVID and he loved having sanitizer and all of that stuff. But what he would do is he had this acumen where he would solve murders. And and he just had this uncanny way of doing it. He was a savant. And in the movie, it got to the point where he was just like, I can't do this anymore. All these people are dead, and I don't know if I'm doing anything good here. And he was sitting on a bench towards the end of the movie, and all these ghosts came up to him and said, because you did this, and started telling him. And it was a really very evocative, emotional part of life. And you never saw that this whole time because he's dealing with people that were, murdered and weird things. But it was like to have that redemption, and like you're saying, in all these small ways, it just creates ripples, and you don't know how that's going to happen, but you just got to keep on keeping on. That's all you can do.
interesting you say keep on keeping on because I use that phrase a lot in it, and it's also Justin Coughlin,
Yeah.
the pianist.
Yeah.
He said that a lot. He did it. There was a video with him and Clark Terry, and he kept saying,
Yeah.
"Keep on keeping on." Very powerful, very powerful. Yeah, interesting image about sitting on the bench. Quite often, I've used being talking to somebody and talking about what they want to do, what they want to be remembered for. Just as you asked, and say, well, imagine you're at an event and all of a sudden everybody you've known in your life starts to come out and it turns out to be a testimonial to you and all these people that you've met over the years have arrived here and it's the best of. What are they going to say?
Yeah.
What do you want them to say?
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's also scary.
Yeah. I interviewed Justin and he was awesome. I mean, he was just so, and it's been some years ago, but, just because there was a movie that was made, I believe, about his relationship with Clark, because Clark was his mentor and it was towards the end of
Right.
his life. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't,
Yeah.
you, yeah,
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, it definitely is.
He tells the story in there that he's visiting Clark Terry, and Clark says, "There's somebody you've got to talk to." And Justin says, "Oh, who's that?" And Clark says, "Just wait." So Clark Terry picks up his phone, phones the number, and he starts talking to somebody, and then hands the phone to Justin. And Justin says, "Who am I talking to?" And the guy says, "Oscar Peterson."
Yep, that's it. Yeah, he was. It's amazing. He was the gateway. Um,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you and all these different pockets of people, family, friends, your readers, everyone that you help, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hmm. I think for me the two the two key words would probably be creative and spiritual. Um, Everything else flows from that.
Yeah.
And when I say spiritual, I'm not thinking so much in terms of institutional religion or those kinds of faiths, but creation spirituality connected to the environment. You can't see it at my back window, but there's a tree out behind me that's about 85 years old, and I've moved my desk, but I used to be able to sit and look out the window and let's just look at this tree, and a feeling of calm, a feeling of peace. And so that's what I mean by the spirituality. I do the meditation, all those kinds of things, but I just really connect with the environment. I connect with, I'm very, very intuitive. So I think this is the universe moving in me or through me. So creative and intuitive are probably the two biggest ones. And I can go on.
Yeah,
Give me a beer and I can go on until the
that's
cows
it.
come home. But
I
those
love it.
are the two keywords.
Yes.
I think those are the two keywords.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. So let me ask you this. If anyone wants to reach out, delve into your world further, any of the good business, where is the best place for them to go?
I've got a website, and it's my name, Larry Easto. That's direction east with an O on the end. And what I've done with the website, I don't like too much information. I don't like websites that are huge. So I've set it up so that it's kind of a funnel to help people figure out one thing they can do to make a difference in their business. So they go there, there's about 5 or 6 questions. If you want this, go here. If you want this, go here. If you want this, go here. Kind of like a menu on a phone. You know, you'll get there. And by way of thank you, to thank the listeners, is the thank you get there as well. It's on the first page, larryeaster.com. And it's a copy of my book, 26 Ways for Professionals to Get New Business. It's on Amazon, but don't go there. Go to my website, get it from us. No email or address required. It's a straight download. And it's my way of thanking the listeners for being up there for us.
I love it. Larry, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. What a
Thank
great
you.
what a great interview. It's great to meet you and keep doing the great work out there. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. And have a good day.
Yes, you too. Take